All right, and we're live. That's cool. That was the first time someone has put a guest destination in on here. So I think we're live on your handle as well. So well done on that.
Yeah, so I streamed it live to my account, and then I went and retweeted yours.
Perfect.
And then I went and retweeted the LunarCrush one. So anybody following me has got it 3 times in their feed now. So we're good. If they haven't, they don't show up, they've got no excuses really.
Nice. So now John's in the background. He has to hide, reply, and block to all the bots that are now hitting us on X. Are you having a bot problem right now?
Yeah. Every day, all day. I believe that most of the people who well, if you're not a bot, then just identify yourself, please, so that we can know that there are people who are not bots that are watching right now. That would be appreciated. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume that everybody here who's watching is actually a bot.
That's right. The bots are the ones that make the trades anyway nowadays. And so we should actually just be speaking to the AI overlords because they're the ones that are going to be going long on our bags here soon. So, all right, Mati Greenspan is with us. What's up, everyone? We are another episode of LunarCrush Live. Mati, you were like on one of the first shows we ever did. Mati is an advisor to LunarCrush. You've been in the mix for a long time, my friend. So appreciate you coming back here and being a part of this. You're into a lot of different stuff now than when we started hanging out. Man, I mean, you've gone through so many different, I would say like adventures and journeys in your career. Maybe you can actually just talk a little bit about, because I don't actually know too much about like your early career. I'd love to hear a little bit about the young Mati and where you started.
Oh, appreciate that. So yeah, I was paper trading. My grandfather's Wall Street Journal. I would just pick it up and I would try to read it at 12 years old, 13, and I mean, stuff goes way over your head. I mean, there's this jargon that I didn't understand until much later in life, but I would always identify where the price of gold and crude oil was, and I would just keep track of it every day. And while I was trying to learn all this stuff, and then I took my bar mitzvah money, and my brothers and I pooled it, and we went into some mutual funds, and that turned out okay. So yeah, I've been in the financial industry since 2008. I got a job at Ava FX, which is an online broker, and been at various online brokers since then. I was at eToro for a total of 7.5 years, where I learned about Bitcoin in 2013, and left eToro late 2019. Just before COVID, I was I said, okay, I'm going to be working from home now. I thought I was so original. And then the entire world joined me like a few short months later. LunarCrush, of course, my first client from the advisory side, and longest standing by far. So yeah, that's it's been a wild ride with you guys, and I'm very happy to see the tremendous growth during that time frame. Yeah, a few other things that I've got going on. So Quantum Economics, of course, is my main firm for research and advisory. So that's quantumeconomics.io. We have 2 spinoff companies. One is Quantum Expeditions, our Bitcoin mining venture. We've raised $1 million from 550 investors so far. We've got 25 petahashes running in West Texas.
Congrats. And that's great.
Thank you very much. We're growing very very quickly now. Not a lot of companies can say that they've gone from 0 to profitable in 2 years. So that's one thing that I'm very proud about. The other spinoff company is Cora Finance. We're building an AI assistant for the world of DeFi. So make it very easy for people to navigate all of the smart contracts and yields and stuff like that, and avoid all of the rugs and the scams. Which we all believe that DeFi is going to change the world, but it's got to be a bit more accessible than its current form in order to do that. And we want to reimagine not just DeFi, but the way that people invest, so that you can speak with the AI just like it's your financial advisor. You don't have to worry about all the flashing numbers and charts and stuff like that. And we believe that's going to help a lot of people invest profitably.
Yeah, a lot of stuff there. I mean, I'd like to talk to actually about mining first, and then I know you've got you have a pretty you said you got an interesting take on the market right now too, with why Bitcoin is where it's at. So we can get to that. And I think maybe it has a little bit to do with mining and maybe your purview over there. But what was that experience like, when you started, thinking about mining? We are just, we came out of like an over 2-year bear market here. And obviously there's people that are like, hey, I'm just into Bitcoin forever. And, no matter what, and like, this is like the base, level that I can get in and support the ecosystem. Like, why? Obviously you want to get in to make money, right? But like, why choose mining as the path to do that, or one of the paths to do that? Why not invest your time somewhere else?
Yeah, so Bitcoin mining is it's basically an arbitrage situation. It's basically your we had the expertise within quantum economics already. It was Oz Sultan, our chief architect at quantum economics, who came up to me and is like, "Hey, Mati, we got to get into this." We were doing some research on Bitcoin mining, so we were writing research posts and blog posts about how much energy does it use. You remember back then, it was a very popular subject, like how much energy does Bitcoin use? Is it good for the planet? Is it bad for the planet? How much of it is green energy? And everything like that. This conversation is about to be derailed.
It's a full household over there. It's all right. Like you said, work from home.
Yeah, absolutely. And then my wife completely abandoned me. Mia, we had a deal. You're gonna take care of the baby, right? Hey, Mia.
This is good television. I love it.
The baby is in here on the interview, so if you could come and take him, I'd appreciate that.
Just a little glimpse into the life of everyone that has kids here.
Take fire truck. Enjoy. You can have the clock too if you want. That's fine. Take the baby, please. Anywhere except for here. You can take him into the toy room if you want. So yeah,
so Bitcoin mining.
We ended up incorporating Quantum Expeditions November 11th, 2021, which was the exact top of the market, if you'll remember, when Bitcoin hit $69,420 per coin. That was the all-time high at the time. It's also Doug Hardwick's birthday. Our CEO is, so it was a very auspicious day for us. Mm-hmm. And we just spent about 1.5 years going, okay, well, the prices of the machinery is going down now, so it doesn't make sense to get in. We just kind of biding our time and waiting for the market conditions to be right. And then 2023 was actually an excellent year for Bitcoin. It was up like 116 or 17%, I believe, something like that. And then just at the end of that year, we said, okay, it's time. We're going. We're ready. And we pulled the trigger. We bought 144 S19s. We had deployed them within 3 weeks of actually ordering. So it was quite a quick deployment, and that was the exact bottom of the market as far as the machinery was concerned. So if we would have bought them a day earlier,
what's like the best stuff, like the best miner out there versus like the bottom? Like, where do those S19s sit in like the plethora of hardware that you can get?
Yeah, so as far as I'm not the machine expert, and that's Justin Kramer's job, and Trent Stevens. We have people who are a lot smarter than I am on the team. But just to say, okay, in November they were the top of the line, and it was understood that the S21s would be coming out, and they're something like double as good and double the price. So for us, we did the maths and we said, okay, well, if we order the S21s now, they're not going to be here for another 4 to 6 months. And that didn't make sense for us because we wanted to start immediately. We understood where the price was going, and we were able to have a blowout first quarter because of that. So we were up and running and everything, and all of the ordinals were adding extra juice to the fees and everything like that. So it was just an amazing first quarter for us. So yeah, that's why we went with the S19s. And since then we've definitely ordered some of the S21s.
Nice. And kind of coming into the halving here, I think the halving is such like a big event that we talk about in the industry, and like they attempt to try to explain on CNBC very poorly. But like how is now as a miner, it is hilarious when you watch for like the first like 30 days there and you're like, what are they saying? What did they say over there? Like, and they can't even like say it. They haven't, like, they're just, I'm like, is this some sort of like haunted thing that's happening? So anyway, like, how do you think about what's kind of happened in the last, 60-ish days, since like the halving, and looking kind of at historical cycles? Like Bitcoin does have a cooling off period. It seems like, from the outside, it's like miners kind of have to rework the profitability a little bit, and they're trying to kind of just figure out exactly where everything shakes out. Is that kind of what you guys are noticing? And does that explain a little bit of what we're seeing in Bitcoin right now? It's like there's so many bullish things from a regulatory standpoint that we're seeing, and then now there's like a little bit of headwinds, I'd say, from people like saying like governments like are selling, but this kind of downtrend was happening just a little bit before that. And so is that miner related?
No, the miners are not in charge at this point, and they're having, I think psychologically had an effect on the market because of and the price did double, up leading into the halving, right? So the halving, let's say, let me share my screen with you here. The old price of Bitcoin chart here. This is the bottom. This is, if you can remember that butt formation. I did call that at the time. I said, hey everybody, that's the bottom right here. Look, left cheek, right cheek. If you remember, I was on a live stream maybe with you guys or with Scott or something like that, and I definitely called that one. This blue line is the 200-day moving average. So that's been a quite significant indicator for Bitcoin. But here is where we actually made the decision to purchase our machinery, and here's where we actually had it deployed just around Christmas time. So that was Orchie. I'm on the phone. Get lost. Oh yeah. So then we're right now just in a range, I would say. So if you do the math on, as far as the halving is concerned, right, there's about $20 billion worth of Bitcoin traded on chain every day. Okay. And that is just on chain. I'm not talking about an extra $2 billion worth of spot ETFs, not talking about who knows how much exchange volume, because we really don't know how much exchange volume there is. There's so much wash trading and false reporting within the exchanges that I don't trust anybody's numbers as far as that's concerned. But there's definitely several $1 billion worth a day happening. But just on chain, which is stuff that we can verify, is somewhere around $20 billion a day. Now, the halving brought us from 900 Bitcoin issuance a day to 450 issuance a day, right? Meaning that at today's prices, that goes from about $60 million to $30 million. So in the face of $20 billion per day volume, how much does issuance really make a difference at 60 million to a 30 million? It's like a drop in the bucket. Like, I don't think that the halving had any real effect on the supply of Bitcoin in the market. I think that Bitcoin's supply in the market is dwindling very fast. The halving was makes it a little bit less, but not anything that, I would say is groundbreaking or anything like that. And therefore, I also believe that we're about to break free of the 4-year cycle, because everybody keeps pointing at the 4-year cycle around the halving. And like, that's not relevant anymore. So I believe that we can see, yeah, you can play this game. I will install this game for you on the condition that you'll leave me the F alone for the rest of the hour. Okay. Sounds good. Is it a deal?
It's a real negotiation over there, Monty.
It is. Like every day of negotiating.
I always wanted.
This is real life, folks. Of trading
block
Bitcoin
blast
with the family.
You got it. There's a block blast, so at least it's block related.
There you go.
All right, go sit in the living room.
You bought yourself 40 minutes.
Enjoy. About 4 minutes. Yeah, exactly. So
you guys kind of got in, at that one range, riding things up, having, like you said, 450 Bitcoins, a day now. Not really a lot, like you said, in the face of $20 billion a day traded.
Yeah. And if you think about bull runs, and I keep hearing people going, yeah, and they make their calculation based on the 4-year cycle. Like, the bear market's coming in a year and a half, right? I'm like, No. You don't understand. Trump is going to get into the White House, okay? And when Trump gets into the White House, he's going to let the economy loose again, and then we'll see things really fly. Okay? It's just as simple as that.
Yeah, and I mean, what we've seen, holding at 60, I think altcoins have definitely bled like a little bit more, but Bitcoin seems to have smaller pullbacks and, more resiliency than I think we've seen in previous cycles, with even like you said, with the ETF in there. That is like a lot of buying pressure that we've had. Right. And like, that's probably like, I hear, I think it's Matt from like, Bitwise talk, and it's like, we're still just at the very beginning of, the RAs and all the financial advisors that are getting in there. Like, they're out there getting trained right now, and the salespeople are out there getting trained to go sell this ETF. It's like, it's just getting started. I think I heard 80% of the buying of the ETFs was just like pure retail, which is kind of blows my mind. But that was just like pure retail rotating into it. That's not pension funds. That's not, the large like sovereign funds that could go out there and purchase some of this stuff. So it's still early.
So this entire leg is all price manipulation here, all of it. Okay.
Yeah, I want to hear your theory here, or your hypothesis.
So yeah, obviously we can't prove it yet, because they have not, to the best of my knowledge, BlackRock has not released their public keys for us to know how much Bitcoin they're actually holding. So there are various things that they can do to suppress prices. I believe that they'll hold off on purchase orders and stuff like that, or at least set their purchase orders below the current price far enough that they'll allow the price to fall a little bit. There was a lot of talk lately about outflows from the Bitcoin ETFs, and we can see that on the chart, right? I'll bring it up. I mean, I like charts.
Yeah.
Hold on here. So this one is a pretty good Apollo. Got a nice chart over here, and yeah, we can see like definitely just the first little inflows yesterday after a slew of outflows, and those outflows were very attention grabbing, right? But even the major one here, 2.9 thousand. So let's do some quick maths, right? 2.9 thousand, so 2,900 times, let's just say $61,000 per coin. So it's 176 million, right? So, but now let's look at that in relation to the volumes. Okay, the volumes is like how much is traded per day, right? And the volumes we can see somewhere in the neighborhood, right, of during those periods, 1 billion to 2 billion per day. Monday was a big one. That was $3 billion traded in a single day. So 176 million, right, traded in a day versus the volumes of like 2 billion. I mean, so what if there's outflows? I think that's kind of incidental. And I think that there's plenty of room within those for those big boys to kind of layer their orders in such a way that they're able to kind of suppress the prices, because they don't want the price to go up too much. There are several nation states, in my opinion, that are buying right now. The beautiful thing here is, though, that if they are manipulating the prices, we're going to find out about it pretty quickly. Because what they don't understand, they've been playing the manipulation game for hundreds of years. But what they may not know is that Bitcoin is verifiable, and we can actually tell if they're holding what they're supposed to be holding or not, given their knowing their public keys. And even then, even without that, there are analysis firms that can go in there, look at the numbers, and understand exactly who's doing what, why, where, and how. And this has been the downfall of many centralized exchange, from Mt. Gox all the way till FTX. Is that we can see it. Like, it's the emperor. The emperor has no clothes, and they've been playing this game of the emperor has clothes, because nobody could prove them wrong in the stock markets for 100 years. If they try this with Bitcoin, they're going to be very quickly exposed in the nude to the general public.
Isn't this where Coinbase comes in though? Like Coinbase is supposed to be the custodian for these guys. And so are we saying that like Coinbase, is in cahoots here with BlackRock, potentially not, they maybe it's not on them. Maybe they get the orders from BlackRock and they're like, hey, we're buying what they tell us to buy. Right.
Right.
But at what point do they become liable as well of saying like, hey, we're supposed to be holding this. We saw, we're in contract with you. We saw that you guys have, the market cap of your ETF is, $10 billion, yet we're only holding $3 billion in Bitcoin, right? Like there is a public number that we could look at, but like, I guess we can't tell, how much Bitcoin like Coinbase is holding for BlackRock though, right?
Yes, we do not know that. I do not know that. I believe that anybody who holds Bitcoin through the BlackRock ETFs should release those numbers. However, that's going to be up to them. I, for myself, would never in a million years think about holding paper Bitcoin when actual Bitcoin is much easier and more accessible for those of you who know where to get it. I
think the tough part though for some people is, if you do have a 401k, right, and you want you're like, hey, I just want full exposure to Bitcoin, but I don't want to pay the penalty, right? I don't want to pay the tax penalty, of 30%, plus the early withdrawal penalty from a 401k. Like I'm just going to go smash that into, like an ETF, and at least I'm exposed is the way they're thinking, even if there is the fee on there, right? I think I've seen people say, I'm so glad I paid the penalty and just got my Bitcoin though, right? There's definitely people that have gone that route, but for a lot of people, it's like, hey, I just want exposure. Boom, I'm done. I don't have to think about this anymore. But like you're saying, hey, if you think you hold 10 Bitcoin, in your 401k, and like really they only have like synthetic Bitcoin. I mean, this is what everyone was worried about, right? Like inflated supply, basically.
Yeah, but they can. My point is that, first of all, I believe that there is price suppression happening via layering of orders and stuff like that, and that's on the side. It's a different issue. Whether or not they are rehypothecating, we will find out if it's happening. I believe that it's only a matter of time. They can only get away with that for a couple of months, a year max, before some child goes, hey, the emperor's not wearing any clothes. Mm-hmm. And then cat's out of the bag. So
when does the cat get out of the bag? When do we find this out? And then when does Bitcoin, finally hit 150?
Well, could happen tomorrow. It could happen in 5 years. Who the hell knows? And it could never happen. Just maybe Larry Fink is smart enough to understand that the lessons of Sam Bankman-Fried and Alex Mashinsky and other criminals, that maybe he's no better than, but at least he's maybe a bit smarter than them. But we'll see.
Yeah, very interesting. And because a lot of people are just sitting here saying like it's quiet, right? Like the market is feeling like this has been kind of like a weird bull market, if you can even say bull market, right? Like we had this huge run up. It was all meme coin oriented back in, February, March, which like, I know you're not a meme coin fan, but you might.
No. I love meme coins.
You might dabble.
Yeah.
But it's worthless. But you're very like outward about saying like, hey, know that you're buying something that's potentially going to zero and will go to zero at some point if you want to dabble. But
yeah, Haktua. So why don't you just go out and buy Haktua right now while everybody wants it, and hold on to it forever, because in 5 years nobody's going to remember what the fuck that means.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's a long-term. Haktua is a long-term investment, is what you should be thinking about, and adding that to your long-term portfolio. Buy it and just set a reoccurring buy and limit orders in, right?
Absolutely. Just DCA that all the way to your grave, because that's going to remain hyped forever, right? Like,
yeah, we're joking here. No one invests in that at all. Please stay far, far away from that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so if you invest in hype, you understand that the hype is going to dissipate at some point. It's just a logical progression. So yeah, if you want to buy a meme coin, buy a meme coin. If you want to be part of the meme coin community, right? You want to be part of Dog with Hat or the dog on Bitcoin or Doge, which I've been in Doge since 2014. I've been an active member of the community. So yes, do that, but it's not an investment. It's a casino.
And so with that, what kind of other like alts are you looking at? Are you dabbling with? Today I think it was they announced, I think it was VanEck, that they're applying for a Solana ETF. We've got pretty interesting long-term chart here of Solana over the years, and it's pretty crazy to see the price up to 258 back here in November of 21, but the social interactions are like no one was talking about it compared to where we are today and the number of posts that are out there. But like this market cap, we're talking $70 billion on Solana. Like what, like interesting, but why is Solana do you think is getting the nod here from an ETF standpoint?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I have no idea. I think I also don't understand. Wasn't it VanEck who just said that they didn't want any part of a Ethereum ETF? Am I missing something here? Somebody said they don't want any part of an Ethereum ETF. Was it VanEck? Shit, I gotta look this. I gotta look this up because I remember being quoted in a BN Crypto article.
What, you're already been quoted for that?
It was a few weeks ago, about the Ethereum ETFs, and they said they don't want to be part of it. So if it's the same, if it's the same firm that
no, I think they don't. I don't
maybe
think so.
it's
They might
somebody
have been
else.
someone else. Yeah, they declared zero fee for spot Ethereum ETF already. VanEck.
Okay.
For spot, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's gonna be various levels of institutional adoption for these things. I think that Michael Saylor was almost right here. Like, there's only one really, institutional grade cryptocurrency that everybody kind of agrees has value. Everything else, you're gonna find some people who like it, some people who don't like it. The haters don't matter. All of this is bullish for Solana, and all of it's bullish for Ethereum, right? So I'm not going to say like, oh, Ethereum is going to go down because there's one, there's one hedge fund that just said they don't want any part of it, and I don't think that Solana is going to necessarily go to the moon because there's one, because VanEck decides that they want to be part of it. So generally speaking, a diversified portfolio is the best way to go. Have some Bitcoin, have some Solana, have some Ethereum, and just hold on to them and hodl for dear life. Tinker with those chains, and as much. I have a very serious policy that I only buy a coin if I want to do something on the network, right? If I don't have any kind of something to do on the network, I don't really have any reason to buy the coin just as a speculation play. For me, it doesn't really work that way. And that's worked out to be a great policy for me over time, because every once in a while you're like, oh, right, I did that one thing back in the day. Look at that. There's like $20,000 sitting there because that,
I did that one thing where I tested that one transaction and then forgot about it.
Yeah, exactly. That happens quite often in this industry. So yeah, I would say, like I'm not a hater, and I'm not an ape. So somewhere in between, be level headed, do your research, and when you want to use something, use it for that purpose.
I think part of this, and these filings though, is this idea that it's not a security, right? And like they're kind of out there proving that, and so it's like these things are getting approved, yet there's still like no way for people to come in and file. Like the gray area continues to be like, in a way, like more interestingly gray about what to do and how to get things launched. And it's like, at some point it's like, especially like this Texas stock exchange that they're talking about. It's like, or Coinbase at some point saying like, hey, we're going to start doing, we're going to launch tokens on here for like projects that have utility out the gate. It's like at some point, like I think that all that's going to exist, and we're still not going to have new rules.
Yeah, I think that Gary Gensler is going to go to jail.
He's the Anthony Fauci of crypto when it comes to COVID.
I mean, what he's done is criminal. I mean, he's set the United States back by an order of magnitude when it comes to fintech innovation. And I think that he's done it on purpose, knowingly, and intentionally. His strategy played out to a T exactly as he wanted it to, which really sucked while he was in office. But I think it's going to be great once he's out of office, because then the next administration knows what not to do. And the next administration, I believe, is going to come out with sweeping reforms that'll give all of the projects a very simple path to regulatory compliance, and give the entire crypto industry some real legs as far as regulatory clarity is concerned, and allowing, bringing these projects back to the United States, because there has been a major brain drain and capital drain from the United States because of Gary Gensler's negligence.
Yeah, people are going to Singapore to launch new innovative projects. They're going overseas, they're going to different places. Some of the smartest people in the industry that are building really cool, interesting things, right? Because as much as like the best VCs in the world, like, you go to Andreessen or someone, like they want like a Uniswap, they want you to build in New York, but like not everyone's up to that task. And it doesn't mean that they're like a bad entrepreneur, right? It doesn't mean they're trying to do something immoral. It just means that like they just don't want that much headache. And they're like, yeah, I just want to like, I'm all about the technology. I want to build cool, interesting technology. I don't want to deal with, this kind of, political, bureaucratic, all these issues that are going on as a CEO of a company, especially if you're a more technical CEO, and you don't want to attack that thing. So it's really been unfortunate to see that, because there has been a lot of really smart people and friends that I know that have been like, hey, screw it, I'm going to Portugal, right? I'm going somewhere else. And it's like, hey, more power to you, man. Let's talk, let's switch gears like a little bit here. We talked a little bit about mining. We're talking like a little bit about the market. Like, what do you, I know you were, you're into economics, like quantum economics, like maybe just talk a little bit about just like the economy in general, like where interest rates are at, like globally in different places, obviously like super high interest rates here in the United States. You could still probably go get a loan in Japan for 0.025% or whatnot, but like how much is that coming into play with what's going on in the market? Like, people are just socking money away in these money markets at 5%. They're like, I'm not going to move into the market. But at the same time, you have things like Nvidia and this AI craze and like hitting all-time highs and $3 trillion companies. You have Bitcoin at 60,000. It's not at 25,000, right? And interest rates are this high, and like they're just trying to like reel back the economy, and the economy's still kind of pushing forward in interesting ways. Maybe you could just talk about your perspective of what's going on with the economy.
Yeah, and it's difficult to do this without getting political, because
It is.
I believe that the politics have a direct impact. I'm sure you saw that viral video over the last 48 hours of the dude who hit the reorder button on his Walmart purchase.
Yeah.
And it went from $126 to $414 in the span of just 2 years. Okay. This is Bidenomics. This is when you send billions and billions of dollars to fund foreign wars, and you just pour money into the economy like there's no tomorrow. And this is what in general politics does. It incentivizes president, because a president is only in power for 4 to 8 years, right? And then he's able to borrow, print, whatever, and then generally speaking, he can borrow 50, for 50 years forward on a 50-year bond or something like that. And he doesn't have to worry about it until the next guy is in charge, and leave him with the bag. It's been going on for decades. In the Biden presidency, right out the bat, they said, oh, there's COVID, so we've got to just print trillions of dollars so that we can let everybody sit on their asses and stay at home. And then, of those trillions of dollars, maybe a few billion went actually to the general public, and then the rest of it went into programs that are more closely associated with the government and the Biden family, and their fingers in the cookie jar. I mean, all I know is that by the end of the Trump presidency, there was so much money in the world that people just didn't know what to do with it. Okay. Anybody with a pitch deck and a team and a vague idea of a project could raise $100,000 in a week. Okay?
More than that.
Yeah,
It's
no, I'm
millions.
saying $100,000 in a week.
Yeah,
In a week,
yeah,
right?
which in some parts of the world you can operate for a long time with that.
Yeah, but yes, there are projects that raised at that time that I've seen from the inside have raised millions and have done Jack diddly squat with it. Did not seriously, literally deliver on their promises whatsoever. But the point is that by the end of the Trump presidency, there was so much money sloshing around, and people just didn't know what to do with it. People were genuinely rich. I was a millionaire. I believe you were as well, and many other people. We were just all millionaires, and we didn't care anymore because the economy was doing great. And now, by the end of the Biden presidency, we're all poor again. We're all scrounging for the next gig or whatever, the next client or the next thing. So what does that tell you? I don't know. I think that just correlates with what's happening. There has to be something political about it. But that's just my view.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this chart here of like the word inflation, and people are concerned, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like, when COVID did hit and people started to turn towards the financial markets because that was what they could do, and it was almost like this casino, and everyone got an account with Robinhood. Suddenly, people started to like think, the average person started to think about finance a little bit more. It's something that they didn't really think about on their day-to-day. They just go to work, come back, whatever, watch sports, hang out, and then it was like, okay, this thing's out there. It's the same thing with inflation, because we haven't really had inflation in our, like, bad inflation in our lifetimes, right? Like it wasn't, I think it was, if you're 40, you were born the last time we had this kind of high inflation in the 70s or the 80s. And so we just haven't lived with it. We've lived with this like kind of low interest rate to medium interest rate environment for a really long time. And so now it's hitting everyone, and they're saying like, what is this thing? Right. We've all been used to, hey, you put money, there's no even reason to put money into a savings account because there's no yield there. Right. You used to have like a little bit, you could have like a little in your checking, a little in your savings, money market, then invested. It was like, why you just have everything in your checking because there's really no reason. And then you try to invest it. It's like, this is really saying something that people, the average person out there is really thinking about inflation. That's just inflation broadly. I'm sure there's like even U.S. inflation is like a whole other term that's out there. Not
check out the
like,
economy.
Just economy. I don't know if we got that. I got that. Maybe we do. No, we got to search it.
Okay.
Data economy. I'll search this one.
Check out Haktua.
Yeah, we got that.
With an H. It's just with an H. To Haktua. There you
170. Oh my God. Started a couple days ago, straight to 40. This is a chart you could trade. So if you are trading this, it's coming down, folks. It's coming down.
Yeah, it will come down. This is how they work. It goes when things go viral, right? They go
you could have
up, and then
bought
they
it right
just,
here.
They just if you could have bought it before she said it, right? Then you'd be very, very happy and rich. But the coin wasn't created until the peak of it, and then
the guy that shot that video should have saw what he had and say, I'm launching a coin first, right? And then release the video. But it is kind of interesting. I hope she signed that UTA deal here, right? Like 4 days ago, and then now it's going to come down to zero, but hopefully she got some money out of that.
Yeah, it should be good. She's set for life. There's no question about that. She's not bitching about her kindergarten job anymore.
This is hilarious. Dude, the memes, like this guy, like the memes are outrageous here. This is, I probably don't want to scroll down this one too much. Not safe for work. I'll stick to the charts here.
I've got my kids running around in the background. We'll be okay. No, but as far as the Fed is concerned, the Fed disappointed in a lot of ways this year because coming into 2024, the forecast was that they were going to support the market, support the economy, bring down interest rates. They were supposed to cut interest rates like 3 or 4 times in 2024.
Right.
Yeah, they're now talking about possibility of raising interest rates. So it's like, the inflation hasn't come down, and they've got they didn't support Biden, which was the funny thing. Like usually they're gonna support, because it's a known fact that a president cannot be reelected when the economy is in the dumps. They just can't. It's pretty much impossible. So generally speaking, the Fed, who reports to the president of the United States, is basically their boss. Even though it's supposed to be an independent organization, it still is a branch of the U.S. government. And the president is the one who appoints the chairman of the Federal Reserve. So Biden is Jay Powell's boss. The problem is that Biden is just, not with it anymore. And he should have been out there saying, hey, Jay Powell, got the interest rates already, right? That's what any normal person would have done. But Biden he's not with it. So he didn't do that.
Yeah, he's not sliding into his DMs like a picture of like the 10-year and just saying, bro.
Yeah. Why is the 210 still inverted, dude? Like, what the hell?
Not helping.
Yeah, exactly.
Biden he'll kind of point at like, and try to take credit though for things like this, like looking at something like NVIDIA, right? Like this is just carried. Like there's some people that could potentially point at the market right now and say like, look at the S&P, look at the NASDAQ, look at the QQQ. Like some of these things are hitting all-time highs this summer. We're up, like things are great. Like what are you upset about? NVIDIA retiring.
I have a chart to show you. I'm sorry when you say stuff like that. It just okay. Let's see. You're gonna love this one. Let me share my screen here. Okay, here we go. This is the Caracas Stock Index. Okay, when you have hyperinflation, okay, the stocks which are priced in the currency, the base currency, they go through the roof. If the price of a Walmart order quadrupled in 2 years and the stock market's only up 20%, you've got a problem. Okay, this is simple maths over here. Simple maths. Okay, what is the S&P up over that same period? I should have shared my entire screen instead of sharing a single window. There you go, entire screen. Yeah, there you go. S&P 500 over the last 2 years. So since 2022, and we'll just do the little measuring tool over here. Where in 2022? Let's be conservative here. Okay, it's up 50%. So it's up 50%. That's great, right? Great performance. But if you think about the value of that money, of those dollars that are backing this,
Walmart,
they're up.
The Walmart order is 200% inflation. So
yeah, so 50% increase.
You're down 50%.
Yeah, so exactly. If you put $100 on the S&P 500, you're better off buying Bitcoin or a carton of eggs.
Yes, as I say, buying Walmart goods.
Yeah, buying Walmart, exactly.
And freeze drying everything.
Fritos, bags and bags of Fritos. You would have been better off than putting your money in the stock market.
Inflation, yeah, it's a silent killer. Is the way you can kind of think about it. Your buying power, and you start to think about like home prices, and you start to think about, man, you're like, you got into a house at 2.75% and a 30-year, and your mortgage is here. It's like, well, now you're frozen in time, right? Unless somehow you go out there and you just kill it, right? Like you save like crazy, you don't do anything, but you still have to be making a shit ton of money to be able to afford in some of these areas, or you're locked in, or you're priced out completely, or you pay an arm and a leg, to try and get in, and it's a very difficult and interesting thing. But if you're you already got into something, you're riding high. So it's like, it is a very interesting thing, like just from a personal finance perspective, for people to really think about how do you approach situations like this, right? And
Yeah.
how do you stay fully invested, like you're saying, into assets that are going to appreciate, because you have to outrun inflation.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is good. This is a good chart, and that's a good way to think about it too. Like, it really becomes clear, like that, like the Walmart cart analogy makes a ton. Like, it makes it very clear to understand, like, returns on equities or even crypto, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And if you're out there making a salary, the same salary for the last 2 years, I understand you're probably in a very bad place right now, and I get it. But my message to you is hold on. Trump is coming. He's gonna fix this shit. And hopefully whoever comes after him will have learned this lesson. Don't
yeah,
print money ad infinitum. You just don't do it. It's just a stupid thing, because you might be helping yourself and you might be thinking you're helping other people, but you're not.
yeah. And I guess this is just me bitching a little bit here. It's like, it seems like, I've always kind of said, like, hey, why can't we just have like 2 presidents a decade and they get 5 years? Like, why, like, the campaign trail, right? You can't get a second term. You just get 1 term, 5 years each, 2 presidents a decade. Like, the public doesn't really have to think too hard. It's like at a 0 and at a 5 year is when elections are. And, the person that gets into office, they don't really have to think about reelection. So they can, burn bridges in a good way and get things done. And then they feel good about, or maybe better about, passing on what they've done and the projects that are halfway done. Cause like the reason you have the government is like for these massive projects that like might not be, potentially like commercially financed. Like, obviously you're more libertarian. You want everything to be commercially financed in some sort of way. But, if we're going to build airports or railways or whatever it is, these massive undertakings, like Army Corps of Engineer type stuff, it's like, this stuff's great. So it's like, it would be great that people could hand off. Like, I heard Trump talking on the All In podcast. And it was like, I think the longest I've heard him talk.
I love that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but like, I've never heard him talk for that long. And it just
Seriously.
kind of seemed like he, whether or not you take him at his word, that he kind of seemed like, hey, I was doing this thing, and then it didn't get carried on to the next president, right? I don't know if he did that for the previous president. Maybe he could eat his words there, but it just seems
the
like
Abraham Accords, for example, is like,
everyone's
why
doing
not?
it.
Why not? Like, your peace in the Middle East is happening. Why not just continue that? He's like, yeah, a 4-year-old could have negotiated a deal with Iran, but instead he just gave them all the money back. It was like, what the hell were you thinking over there? We could have completely avoided the war in Ukraine if you had just not said this. Like, you shouldn't have said that. That was it. It's done. You could have avoided that war completely. And it was it's a total sham what's been happening in the United States. Here in Israel, we have a parliamentary system where there's 120 seats, and the prime minister at every single moment has to be holding 61 seats. So the Likud party, which is Netanyahu, has got only like 30 seats or so. So he actually has to make sure that more than half of the population, or the representatives of more than half of the population, are happy at any given time. And they can always stand up and say, you've got a vote of no confidence, and go to a re-election if he does not have that 61 seat coalition. What's even better is a DAO, okay, where you have actually people who've invested in the project. They've got, if you can build out that structure, right, and we can start building out the infrastructure. I've been dreaming about this since I was a kid. Okay. I was like, well, we've got internet now. Why the hell do we still have this broken system where you choose the clown on the left and the clown on the right? They're both working for the same fucking person at the end of the day. Right. So we can do this. We will. I believe that it's a lot closer than people think. I believe that even within the next 10 or 20 years, we'll be in a situation where we can see tokenized forms of governance take hold. And we can see stuff where, if there's an issue that's involving medicine, right, let the doctors weigh in on that and let their vote weigh a little bit more, right? Make that make sense, okay? Whereas today's democracy, I mean, it's far better than most other systems that have come before it. and especially for countries like the United States. But it's really a popularity contest more than anything. And just because you're a popular person doesn't mean that you're very good at running the country or running the economy or, geopolitics or things like that.
Yeah. I mean, that like the on-chain verifiable identity, verifying potentially like previous decisions that you've made or like a small group of your peers, right? Like there's so much that we can do to verify someone's history. Like think about like even like a president, they get up there like saying, and they say, I've done all of these things, right? It's like, and then you just have to believe them, right? And then a bunch of journalists go in and they try to prove a bunch of stuff, and then they make up a bunch of stuff left or right or whatever it is. You really have no idea what's true out there anymore, and especially now with generative AI and audio, it's like even to like the trained eye, you're kind of like you can kind of tell it's AI right now, but it's the same as like phishing emails, right? Like you knew like a really crappy chainmail back on American Online back in the day, and someone was trying to get you to click on something, but then like Facebook, like misinformation started because like I think because Facebook cleaned up the UX, right? All you had to do is drop a link into Facebook, and that link and that picture and that meta image look the exact same as the real website, right? So now you have a ton of people, especially like a little bit in the older generation, seeing like the modern day like fake chainmail misinformation that is happening over here, and they're taking that as real because like, oh, it's on Facebook, it looks just like the White Sox won yesterday or the Bears won yesterday. Like it looks the same as the ESPN article that I'm seeing now on American Online, like or I'm seeing on Facebook. And so I think that actually was like the beginning of like the misinformation train. And so now the only way out of that is the truth machine, that is a blockchain and preferably Bitcoin in some way. And so I think we're hopefully, our industry is trying and attempting to build those things. I think the hardest part though is like in our industry right now is, the smartest minds, in order to kind of be profitable and have any sort of upside to some of these things, they're like, I'm going to go launch a layer 1. I'm going to go launch a layer 2 on top of Ethereum because like that's where the money and the speculation is coming. Someone's not going to go say, hey, I want to go build, a verifiable like media source. And they're like, well, how are you going to make money? And they're like, well, it's going to be like a 5-year, right? Like people want that quick hit, especially because tokens can be public. So I think the incentive structure is a little off for like this killer app that everyone's waiting for in crypto. So I don't know. It's just
we're building it. We're building it, man. The Cora Finance is going to be pretty freaking awesome. You're going to see it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Anyways, it looks like we've got like 600 views on one of the tweets, and then another 70 or so on my tweet, and then another 100 or so on your tweet. Is that like cumulative? Are all of these like, so we've got about 800 bots in the room? Is that right? Is that where we're at?
Yeah. So X changed probably like a couple months ago, changed the way that they show viewers. So it's no longer concurrent viewers, it's total viewers. So it used to be
viewers.
It used to be concurrent.
So how many people are watching? Are there people watching right now, or is it only bots?
There's probably people watching, but I would say it's definitely not the 1,000. It would probably be like,
if you're watching, could you just raise your hand or leave a comment or something so that we know that you're a human and that you're watching and we're not just, blowing hot air into the internet for all the bots to consume? I would really appreciate
it's
it.
recorded, Monty. So people will be watching this later on. That's kind of the cool part about the internet. When you put something up there, it stays on the internet for longer periods of time.
That is pretty cool. So people get to record. I don't watch recordings anymore. I watch the live stuff, right? If it's not live right now, like then don't even bother, right?
Yeah. And X, I think X is like you remember Clubhouse? Clubhouse.
I remember that week. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a little bit longer. It was awesome for like that 2 months, but then like Twitter Spaces actually crushed it, and Twitter Spaces has remained like a really big thing. But X is not investing. They have a monopoly on Spaces.
Yeah.
Like a full monopoly on it. It's like I would be spending a lot of time on Spaces, scaling it, different types of reactions, different things there. They're not spending any time on it. It's like, dude, drop Grok. Who cares? Like you're not seeing the upside. You're not a public company. You're not going to see the upside of being like an AI play as a private company. Like spend zero time on that, at least on the front end, and take all that energy and effort and put it directly like into Spaces and growing that out and like audio and like video in Spaces. Like, oh my God.
I
So
would. Elon Musk, if you are watching, you're doing
Elon
the
could be
wrong thing
watching.
over here. He's always watching, right? I mean, he has a way of consuming everything on the internet all at once.
Through Neuralink, it's just he's already got
It
one.
just
And
zaps
anytime
into his head. Yeah, that
the
must
AI,
be.
the AI realizes that we said at the beginning of this, we're appealing to the AI. So the AI knows
Yes.
now that that's a
This is
pretty
content
quality
not made for
suggestion.
humans.
Yeah, the suggestion was quality, and so it's making it to the top of his list, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Elon Musk, please just add some new reactions to Twitter Spaces. I mean, it just makes sense business wise.
Yeah, it's a video.
We're on Twitter Spaces all day, anyways. The Yard Stream stuff is pretty cool as well. So I think that's a great platform to stream from.
Yep.
So,
All right, Monty, you rock. We cranked an hour. I appreciate you staying up, being here for us. We'll keep doing these things. Congrats on everything quantum that you're doing. And
thank you, man.
Everyone go out there, follow Monty Greenspan, check out what he's working on. He's a great source of information out there on X. So Monty, you rock, man. And thank you everyone out there for listening, bots and humans and Elon alike. This is.
I will see you in Nashville.